Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Emery, and today we'll be presenting on schooling in France versus schooling in America. So the reason I picked this topic is because I have been to France in a prior experience in high school, and I thought it was super cool because you would think that they're pretty similar because we're here to do the same thing, to learn information, but in many different aspects there's a lot of differences between the two. So to go over the review of my presentation, I will be talking about the stages of schooling in France and America, the disciplines between the two countries, also a grading scale, the differences on where they grade from and what scoring is contributed into the grading. Also lunch meals between both countries, sports differences and the importance of each one of them, and then some things that take place after high school that are still important to learning, and then some fun facts that I found. So when looking at the stages of schooling, they both each have 3 categories. The primary, secondary, and senior secondary are all underneath the French category. The difference is a little bit of the differences of the grades and the amounts of each grade and each schooling for them. So in the primary, kindergarten through 6th grade, students can also start schooling at 3 years of age, rather 5 years in America. The secondary is known as 7th to 10th grade, and then the senior secondary is 11th through 12th. A reasoning behind why they separate them is because they really want to crack down on making sure that you not only know the information, but how well you know the information, how well you can put it to everyday life, as well as going on after high school. As you can see on the right, it shows that the elementary, middle school, and high school are the 3 for U.S., and then elementary is kindergarten through 5th, middle school 6th through 8th, and then high school is 9th through 12th. France also goes to school for a total of 13 years throughout kindergarten until 12th grade, rather than preschool. Kindergarten is sometimes optional to America, so they go for 12 years. And throughout the school day, America goes for 5 days of the week, rather than France goes for 4 years. And they both go for a total of 7 hours per day throughout the week. So disciplines that I found, the curriculum is heavily oriented in English and math in the American side of things, rather than in France it's heavy in philosophy and math. The similarity that they have is they both find math to be an importance in their learning education, but with France, the philosophy kind of comes from a past thing that's been in their heritage for a long time. They also like to take importance in they like to show off that they have something that's been around for so long and isn't so important to them. In France, good manners is taught from schooling and from home. It's a very strict policy for them, rather than in America, it's kind of like how you were raised and how what you were shown by parents and by individuals around you about how to be disciplined. In France, they prefer you not to ask a lot of questions. You're kind of known to take notes and be there to learn, rather than in America, they love participation. They love you to show your interest in the class and give answers when you can, and etc. The teaching in U.S., the teachers mostly like to have you engage in learning, but also what you can outside of school, so like clubs, sports. If you notice, like in high schools especially, a lot of people try to get people more involved in clubs, and rather than in France, clubs and sports aren't as important. They're not as common, so they just try to think of more like you're just here to learn, and then you do what you can outside of school. In the U.S., there's less time to do homework because of the sports and the common grounds with the clubs being more common, rather than in France with the schooling. It's like a full-time job. You do 40 hours a week of schooling, of classes, and of the homework. It gives them a better view on the outlook of better grades and being able to participate in the prestigious schools after high school if they can. The grading scale, the difference is shown. You can see the 2 pictures here. France goes off a grading scale of a 20-point average. You cannot score above a 20 no matter what. With the American side, you can score above 100%, just depending on the professor and what they give you and what they grade you on. There's 3 different awards given to the top students in France. And as you can see here, there's the honors, the high honors, and then the highest honors. rather than in America, there's only 2 that are awarded, and that's the valedictorian and valedictorian of their class. The lunch differences, I found to be the biggest difference between the 2 countries. In France, it's more of a balanced meal rather than high sugars, and it's rather like higher in proteins and carbs. They look at it more as an art rather than we look at it in America as like a fuel advantage for the day. France gets an hour to socialize and to eat their lunch. They like to teach them to eat slower, which is also a reason why the obesity rate is so high in America, is because we're taught to scarf down our meals and not have much time to eat. And a lot of times with buying lunches in America, it takes 15 minutes to go through the line of buying a lunch, which gives you 15 minutes to eat lunch, which is not much time at all. And then the cost is quite different, which is reasoning to back up why the meals are kind of higher end, I guess you could say. In France, they're better for you. As you can see, it's around $7 in France, around $3 in America. Bringing lunches from home, it is not common in France. They kind of just put like a stigma where you have a healthy meal for lunch here at school, why do you need to bring a healthy meal from home? Rather than America, sometimes the meals aren't always healthy like France, so people tend to bring lunches from home that are healthier choice options, and that is quite normal in America. Here are 2 pictures showing that just the difference between the protein and the high, and like they always have cheeses and different vegetables and fruits available. They always drink water. There's never an option for milk because of the reason that they already have their protein needed in the lunch. Rather than in America, for drinks you can do pop, juices, strawberry, chocolate, white milk. You can do slushies, just depending on the schooling. They have all different kinds of choices. And as you can see, it's not really a balanced meal, and you have to eat that in less timing. Also with France, they always have dessert options. In America, it's kind of like what you want to pay for. So like you could choose an option of dessert, but it would be, a quick cookie or something if you even have time to eat it if you would like. Some of the sports that I found, the difference, like I said earlier, is that it's not most common in France, rather it is common in America. Why it's so common in America is because sometimes after high school it helps you get into colleges. If you pay attention to a lot of colleges, like if you don't have the highest grades, if you're good at a sport, I'll take you over someone that has higher grades because we need to keep the sports involved, and in the importance in America, it's very important for them to go off of that. As well as if there are like anything other than schooling in France, it's more like club teams outside of school, but it's not common because, as I said before, it's like a full-time job going to school in France. 40 hours you spend doing homework and going to school. And then just like reinstating that practices after school at high school in America, and then maybe sometimes before, which takes away from your time to do for homework. Some things after